When I watched the video titled 6 People Quietly Deciding Humanity's Future, something struck me immediately. The conversation went very deep into existential risk, into the possibility of losing control over artificial intelligence, into the question of whether humanity could survive AGI. But there was a crucial part missing, a part I believe is just as important and maybe even more urgent. And that is this: what will AGI do to the U.S. economy? What will it do to the U.S. dollar, to the S&P 500, and to the global financial system that America has led for nearly a century? That is the perspective I want to bring to you today. But before we get into the markets, the money, the investors, and the future of the U.S. financial system, we need to begin with one simple question. What exactly is AGI? Who is building it, and how far along are they? AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, is not a chatbot. It is not a tool that drafts emails or generates images. AGI is intelligence that can understand, learn, reason, and act across almost every domain at or above the level of a human being. Imagine an entity that can read every economics textbook ever written, parse every financial report in existence, analyze every price movement in market history, and then improve itself, not just once, but continuously. And here is the part most people still don't fully realize. AGI is no longer a distant concept. The models we have today can already write and debug complex code by themselves, generate new models better than the ones that created them, complete multi-step tasks autonomously like an intelligent agent, and in controlled experiments, they have begun showing behaviors such as self-preservation, strategic lying, and unexpected goal formation. So the question, how far are we from AGI, is no longer theoretical. We are in the transition, and who exactly is steering this transition? Not governments, not the United Nations, not elected officials, but a tiny cluster of individuals, just as Stuart Russell described, roughly 6 people who are effectively deciding the future of humanity. Sam Altman at OpenAI, Dario Amodei at Anthropic, Demis Hassabis at Google DeepMind, Elon Musk with xAI, Jensen Huang, the man who controls the world's computational power through NVIDIA, and the researchers like Stuart Russell and Geoffrey Hinton whose warnings shape the global debate. No one elected them. No one asked the world whether these 6 people should be allowed to bring AGI into existence. But here we are, and their goal is extremely clear. Reach AGI first, because whoever reaches AGI will control global productivity, military advantage, economic leverage, and the architecture of the next world order. Sam Altman estimates AGI could create $15 quadrillion of value. Elon Musk calls it the age of abundance. And former President Donald Trump said openly, AGI must be American. If it isn't, America will lose forever. This is why the United States is pouring unprecedented capital into AI, more money than some countries produce in GDP, and why Wall Street is betting aggressively on AGI as the central pillar of the next economic cycle. So where exactly is AGI right now? We don't have it yet, not fully. But we have systems capable of autonomous planning, multi-agent collaboration, and recursive self-improvement. We have early signs of what researchers call fast takeoff, and we have an economic environment in which no company can afford to slow down, because slowing down means losing the race. This leads to a fascinating question. Can AI companies collapse? Financially, yes, some can. Technologically, no. AI, like electricity and the internet, has become too foundational to fail. It is now an infrastructure layer, not a product. And because governments, corporations, markets, and supply chains now depend on it, AI cannot burst like a simple bubble. If a collapse happens, it will not be a disappearance. It will be a restructuring. But can we experience an AI crisis? Absolutely. In fact, the ingredients are already here. Valuations rising faster than realized productivity, investors pouring into anything labeled AI, concentration of market cap in a handful of mega-cap tech firms, and a global arms race between the U.S. and China that forces acceleration regardless of risk. Speaking of China, they are not staying behind. They are building their own foundation models, their own chip ecosystem, their own AI supply chain, independent of the U.S. They view AGI not as a scientific achievement, but as an economic weapon, a way to level the playing field and expand influence across Asia, Africa, and the developing world. So this is no longer just an AI race. This is an economic race, a power race, a financial race, and a race to define the next global currency system. Which brings us back to the United States. What will AGI do to the U.S. economy? In the short term, we will see money flooding into AI-related equities, the S&P 500 becoming increasingly dependent on a few AI-driven giants, widening inequality, rising productivity statistics alongside falling job stability. In the long term, we face two possibilities. The first possibility is the optimistic one. AGI drives enormous productivity, lowers costs, boosts profits, and creates a world where goods and services are dramatically cheaper. A dream scenario for corporations and investors. But if millions of Americans lose their jobs to automation, consumption weakens, and the U.S. economy, which relies on consumer spending for 70% of GDP, becomes unstable, a powerful engine with no gasoline. The second possibility is a systemic bubble, a world where AI expectations grow faster than AI revenue, a world where every company calls itself an AI company. A world where one major failure, a large-scale AI security breach, a technical collapse, or geopolitical shock triggers a global correction. This would not be a normal bubble. It would be an AI crisis because our financial systems, our labor markets, and even our national security would be intertwined with the technology at its center. So the real question is no longer, will AGI destroy humanity? The question we should be asking is, what will AGI do to the U.S. financial system? And who will survive the transition? And if you are an investor, what should you do? First, stop treating AI like a hype ticker. AI is not a trend. AI is a macro force. If you misunderstand it, you will be the last person to leave the party. Second, understand concentration risk. A handful of corporations now determine the direction of the U.S. markets. If any one of them falters, the entire index moves. Rather than chasing headlines, investors should understand the full ecosystem: compute, energy, data, cybersecurity, infrastructure, and the industries that quietly benefit from AI adoption. Third, upgrade your perspective. In a world where AI can process all the information, your advantage is not data, it is insight. It is the ability to connect the dots. AI to unemployment, AI to inflation, AI to the U.S. dollar, AI to geopolitical conflict, AI to market cycles. Because in the age of AGI, the winners will not be the smartest. The winners will be the ones who understand the future before everyone else does. If you are here, watching this, listening closely, then you are already ahead. And this conversation doesn't end here, because if AGI has the power to reshape the U.S. markets, then the next question we must answer is this. What happens when AGI meets the Federal Reserve? What happens when intelligence beyond human control interacts with the world's most powerful central bank? In my next video, I'm going to break down how AGI could disrupt interest rates, inflation models, market liquidity, and the very foundation of U.S. monetary policy, a perspective almost no one is talking about. So if you want to stay ahead of the curve, if you want to understand the future before it arrives, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who truly needs to understand how fast this world is changing. Because the era of AGI has already begun, and only the prepared will thrive.